I'll do what I want in my own yard. Okay, I'll make it impossible to enjoy your air. So last spring, my old neighbor sold her house and moved away. She was seriously like the nicest person ever. Then these awful people moved in next door and my life became hell. The guy Pete has this black Mustang that sounds like a monster truck, and he revs it up and down our streets literally every single evening. Like I'm trying to sit on my back porch and watch Netflix after work, and this dude is out there making it sound like a NASCAR race. It's insane. But wait, it gets worse. He also drives up and down the main highway doing the same crap, but even louder because it's a 55-mile-per-hour road. You can literally hear this thing for miles. And on weekends, he has his buddies over and they all sit in his backyard revving cars like they're having some kind of weird engine party. The noise is so bad that you just have to stop whatever you're doing and wait for them to finish. So obviously a bunch of neighbors posted in our HOA Facebook group asking him nicely to chill out with the noise. Pete's response was pure gold. He said, "I pay a lot of money for this house. I'll do what I want in my own yard. And the streets are public." Like, okay bro, we get it, you have main character syndrome. Here's where it gets interesting though. Our subdivision is huge, like 150 houses on 300 acres. Most people have between 1 to 4 acres, but Pete's house is on the tiniest lot at just under half an acre. My house is on a 3-acre corner lot right next to his. And here's the kicker. His property is surrounded by everyone else's privacy fences except for the side facing my house. Now I've lived here for 15 years, so I know exactly how the wind patterns work. Whenever I used to have fires on the side of my yard closest to where my old neighbor lived, the smoke would blow straight into her backyard. I felt terrible about it. So I moved my fire pit to the other side of my house years ago to be a good neighbor. But Pete reminded me that I absolutely loved having my fire pit right in the middle of my backyard, right where all that smoke would drift straight into his tiny little kingdom. So I spent one weekend digging up all the pavers and blocks and moving my fire pit back to its original spot. Then I just waited for Pete to have people over. When he did, I started a nice fire and got it going real good. Then I added the wettest, nastiest wood I could find. Within like 10 minutes, Pete and all his car friends were coughing and went inside. They came back out later, so I added more wet wood. Back inside they went. I kept this up all day, then threw a bunch of grass clippings on it to keep it smoking all night. The next day it was still going and smelling absolutely awful. I posted on the HOA Facebook page that I'd be using my fire pit as much as possible and asked if anyone wanted to donate their lawn clippings. 20 people responded in just a few hours, saying they'd bring me all their grass. I kept that fire burning for 3 weeks straight. My dogs would bark whenever Pete went outside, so I'd hear them and run out to add more clippings. The smoke was thick and gross, and it just hung over his entire backyard like a toxic cloud. Finally, Pete and his wife came over and very politely asked what was going on with my fire pit. His wife said her hair smelled like campfire anytime she went outside, and the smell was getting into their house through the air vents. Pete said I was making it impossible for him to enjoy his backyard with his friends. They asked if I could maybe ease up because I probably didn't know how much it was affecting them. I looked right at Pete and said, "Sometimes we don't realize how much something affects our neighbors until they tell us about it." But then I said, I normally live by the same "I'll do what I want in my yard" philosophy that Pete does. I have a right to enjoy my property too, right? I stared Pete dead in the eyes and said, "And I know you support that because of how our conversation about your car ended, right, Pete?" His face went completely blank like I had just broken his brain. He knew exactly what I was doing. His wife looked at him and you could see the light bulb go off in her head. She said she totally gets it and we won't hear the Mustang anymore. I said thanks and took a gamble by putting the fire out right after they left. Best decision ever because I haven't heard that stupid car since.